G'day and welcome to Easy Eats with Dad. My name's Trav, I'm a dad, not a chef, and today I've got something really special. I'm going to show you how you can cook your family an authentic Mexican fiesta. We're talking tacos, nachos, quesadillas, and we're making them with beef brisket and slow cooked pork brisket. This is going to be special. So I'm just going to basically, I've got a couple of oven trays here. I've just lined them with baking paper just to minimize the mess. That's our nice pork brisket, that looks delicious. And we're just gonna do exactly the same thing with the beef. Now, as you can see, the beef brisket is quite large and we're probably only gonna use about half of that. So make sure you keep an eye out for an upcoming episode of Easy Eats because I'm gonna show you a really cracking dish that you can make with the leftovers. All right, so the packages say that you need to put these in the oven for about 45 minutes at about 180 degrees Celsius. I'm not gonna put them in for that long. I'm gonna put them in for 20 minutes because we are gonna add these into the fry pan with some spices and everything. So all we need is to heat them up enough so they become nice and soft and they just pull apart nicely. So let's chuck them in now. All right, now we're just gonna brown some onions in a pan with a bit of olive oil. All right, now, while our briskets are in the oven cooking nicely, we're gonna make some guacamole. So what I've got are 2 avocados, a tub of sour cream, some limes, and a bit of salt. So first up, you wanna just cut open the avocados. And then literally we're just gonna scoop them into our bowl like so. All right, now, when you get your avocados, make sure you don't get them too hard. You want them to be nice and soft, so give them a squeeze when you're at the shopping center, because you need to be able to mash them up like this. So we're just using a fork. We're gonna mash it up. Now we're gonna add just about roughly a tablespoon of sour cream. All right, you can see now that the sour cream's mixed in, that it's a nice pale color. It's still got a few chunks of avocado in there, which I like. If you don't like that, then feel free to mix it even harder until it's all nice and smooth. All right, now we're gonna add just a bit of lime juice into it. So maybe a quarter of a lime. And then finally, we're just gonna add a bit of salt. All right, now because we're cooking both beef and pork, we obviously want to cook them separately. So we're going to add a bit of olive oil to a second pan. And then we're going to get half of our onions that we browned and softened and put them into that second pan. All right, now we're going to pull out the briskets. So that's looking really nice. It's the beef brisket and that's the pork brisket. Now, you'll know you've cooked it long enough if it just starts to fall apart like that. You can see how easy that is for it to come apart. It's exactly what you want, and same with the beef. Yeah, that's just beautifully coming apart like that. All right, now if you remember, I said that we're only gonna use about half of the beef brisket because it's quite big. So what I'm gonna do now is just cut that in half like so. I'm just gonna add that to one of the pans and all of the pork to the second pan. All right, so now we've added the meat to the pans, we need to break it up a bit. So it'll literally just pull apart like this if you've cooked it for long enough. If it's not quite there, then just add it back to the oven for another 10 minutes or so and it'll be good. You can see that meat, that beef is like really nice and tender. That's gonna go so good. All right, so now we're gonna put our spices together for the meat. Sweet paprika. Next up, we got ground cumin seeds, ground coriander seeds, and then last of all, we got a bit of cayenne pepper. Now, if your family doesn't like spicy food, then probably don't add this. I'm only gonna add it to one. I'm gonna add it to the beef, but I'm only gonna add just a really little bit. And the last bit is just a bit of salt. Right, so this is our spice mix with the cayenne pepper in it. We're just gonna sprinkle that over the beef and then mix all that in. So you can see we're getting a nice color to that now. And this is our spice mix without cayenne pepper that we're adding to the pork. All right, the last ingredient for our meat mixes is a bit of chunky salsa. Now I've got mild, simply because we don't want to make it too spicy for the kids, but by all means, if your kids love spice, then get a hot one or a medium one, whatever you want. And we're just gonna spoon the salsa into the mix. So like I said, about half the jar per meat. All right, so we're just gonna add that to the heat again, mix that in. All right, now we're gonna start making the first dish of our fiesta, and that is nachos. All right, now I've gone with tortilla strips, which are, you know, kind of like corn chips, but I like them better. They hold the flavor of the meat a lot nicer, and unlike like Doritos or corn chips, they don't overpower you with flavor. So we've just kind of filled the dish up almost to the top with the tortilla chips. And then we're just gonna spoon in some of our beef mix. So we're making beef nachos. We're gonna keep the pork for the tacos. So you wanna evenly distribute the beef mix kind of over the top of the tortilla chips. And then the last thing we wanna put in before baking is some of our mountain of cheese here. So I'm just using tasty cheese. It's probably the best kind. Melts really nice and adds a really good flavor to it. Now we'll add it to an oven at 180 degrees. And that'll probably go in there for 10 to 15 minutes. You want to keep monitoring it though, because you don't want it to overcook. You just want the cheese to start to brown and then it's good to go. All right, while our nachos are baking, we're gonna heat up the taco shells. So I've gone with hard shell taco shells because I like the crunchiness of them, but if you like soft shell ones, then by all means go for soft ones. We're just gonna chuck that in the oven, 180 degrees for 3 minutes. All right, now we're gonna start putting together our quesadillas. Now we're gonna do one beef quesadilla and one pork. So the first thing we need to do, sprinkle a bit of cheese on just half of it. So you don't need too much, just evenly spread the meat over the half with the cheese. We're just gonna fold that over, down, you can give it a good press, and then we're just gonna put that in our fry pan. And then literally with the second one, the beef one, we're just gonna rinse and repeat. And just drop that into the other half of the pan. And then we're just gonna put it onto the stove and just let it toast nicely. All right, now the quesadillas have been in the pan for about 4 or 5 minutes. They're starting to get nice and warm, so we've got to flip them. Now, normally this would be the hardest part of the whole thing, but I'm gonna show you a trick that'll make it super simple. All you need is a plate. You literally just wanna put it like that. How easy is that? And then we just want to slide them back into the pan like so. Just compress them again with a spatula. Beautiful, and we'll just let them continue to toast. All right, now we're going to put together our tacos. I guess there's no real right or wrong way as to how you stuff your tacos. I tend to prefer the meat down the bottom and the cheese on top of the meat because that'll kind of get the cheese nice and melty. So that's what we're going to do now. And they are pork tacos, as we mentioned. So we're going to use this lovely pulled pork, and that just looks absolutely delicious. Next, we got cheese. Just some chopped tomatoes that I prepared earlier. Bit of lettuce. Now I've used Cos lettuce rather than iceberg lettuce. I just find Cos lasts a bit longer. It doesn't go as soggy as quickly as iceberg. So sprinkle some of that on there. Next, just a little bit of salsa on each one. Bit of our lovely guac to it. Just want to dollop it on there as best you can. Get it across as much of the taco as you can. Touch of sour cream just adds to the guacamole. Last but not least, we're just going to sprinkle over some chopped coriander. We're going to chop up our quesadillas. And we just basically want to chop that into 3 or 4 bits, probably 3 I think. So we'll go 1, 2 cuts. And again, just a bit of coriander to make it look pretty and also taste delicious. Well, there you have it. There's our Mexican fiesta. How good does this look? I mean, we've got the pork tacos, the beef nachos, the mixed quesadillas, but there is one thing missing, and that is our accompanying beverage. Check out what I've got in store for you. Now, it is a Mexican fiesta, so what better to accompany it than a margarita? They're fresh, they're easy to make, delicious. So let's get stuck into it. First up, we've got our cocktail shaker. It's about half full of ice. This is triple sec, so it's an orange liqueur. You can use Cointreau as well. We're gonna use a nip of that, so 30 mils of that. Now, next we want a bit of lime juice. So we're gonna use some nice fresh limes. Again, we want about 30 mil of that. And last but not least, not that one, we want the tequila. So we're going clear tequila. So with this one, we want to go 2 nips of that. So pretty simple, 60 mil of tequila, 30 mil of triple sec, 30 mil of lime juice, bit of ice, and steak. All right, now we're gonna salt the rim of our glass. Now what we need to do is just wet the outside of it with a bit of lime, like this, right around the edge. Just go around it a couple of times with some ground salt until the edge looks all nicely frosted with salt like that. Once it's been shaken up, you're good to pour in. Look at that, delicious. Then, just as a bit of a garnish, we're just gonna squeeze in a bit more lime juice and just chuck that bit of lime in there. And there you have it, the perfect accompaniment to a Mexican fiesta, a super easy to make margarita. Well, that's it for another episode of Easy Eats. Make sure you stay tuned for more super simple meals that you can cook for your family. Mia, can you come and give me a hand? How does that look?
Yummy.
Cool, take that for me. Cheers.
Thank you.